repeat that. I want to make sure people work towards their potential, not their current ability. And the reason I say that is we've built a health and wellness platform. So we want to help inspire as many people as we can to adopt a healthy lifestyle, because that is where great things begin to happen. Our external environment is a direct reflection of our internal, on what's going on internally.
Right.
So if we get the internal right, the external will take care of itself.
You are watching WhatsApp Punta Cana with Christy Maggio, una americana italiana en la República Dominicana since 2013. A teacher at heart, but her curiosity has sparked new opportunities. Director, businesswoman, humanitarian, talk show host. La curiosa directora has decided to become the student. Go behind the scenes to get a closer look at what this country is all about. And Cher is here with you. So, if you love everything Dominicana, stay tuned. This is WhatsApp Punta Cana with Christy Maggio.
So tell me, Lee Duncan, you grew up in England, in Sheffield. I know that you are a boxer, but I'd like to start back at the beginning. You know, as a child growing up, what was life like? What were your struggles? What were your opportunities that came to you as a young person?
Yeah, for sure. So my name's Lee Duncan. I'm from Sheffield in the UK. And I'm just going to take you back through a small journey of where everything started for me. So right from my childhood years, I used to spend a lot of time every other weekend going to my grandparents' house, because my mother and father were very strict with me and my brothers. And also it just gave my mother and father a bit of space. Rather than having three little rascals in the house, they were dealing with two while I was at my grandparents'. So I used to go there more or less every weekend. And I remember my grandfather used to, he's a big sports fan. So he used to watch the soccer and football, as soccer as you guys call it in the States, is football here, and also boxing. But every time the boxing came on, I used to get excited. I used to get up and start moving around and everything else. And I just fell in love with it from there. And that's when I started getting the vision of what I wanted to be. So as time rolled on, sort of living at home with my parents, growing up, going through school, my academic life was in a total mess. All right. My relationship with my father wasn't so good either, because the vision I had in my head of what I wanted to do, my father was very negative towards that. So my father is black. He's from the West Indies, very negative. My mother is white English, and my mother's very positive. My mother's my best friend, and she's always pushed me towards my vision and said, you know, you can do whatever you want to do. So it all started from here. And I used to battle with my father all the time because he wanted me to do what he wanted me to do, and everything else. So it clashed a lot. So as time rolled on, it's coming up to leaving school. I've left school with one GCSE, so I've not achieved anything in my academia life. I got one GCSE, so you know, nothing happened for me. Nothing happened for me from living at home and being around that environment. So I had to take the courageous decision to actually move out of my family home at 16. So I didn't know anything about living alone. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but I wanted to begin the quest and the journey to better my life and live out my vision of becoming a professional boxer. That was my dream. So I moved out of the family home at 16, and I came across a mentor. This was simultaneously while I was sort of moving out and everything else. And, you know, he was explaining certain things that I had to do if I wanted to better my life and become a success and become a professional boxer, in which I wanted to be. So one of the steps I had to take was actually move out. So I remember waking up the first day when I'd moved out, and my father was, you know, he was still telling me, oh, what do you want to move out for? Because my father actually moved us up to an affluent area of Sheffield, where we're from, to keep us out of trouble, me and my brother. So we lived in a nice house, nice area, quiet neighborhood. But it just goes to show sometimes that is not enough, because I was a prisoner in my own mind at the time because nothing was happening. So then, it all started to unfold from there. As I moved out, I was around other athletes, living with athletes, world champions, and that's when a really big major shift started in my life.
Okay, couple questions
Yeah.
going back, because I want the specifics. So
yes,
let's first start with 1 GCSE is equivalent. Is that like grade 9? Because how many GCSEs are there?
I think there's about 12, or there's about 15 now. There was 12 back then, and that's like you get A, B, C, D, etc. Right down to E or fail. So I got 1 GCSE, which means you have to get between an A or a C. So I got a C in woodwork. It was making a box for my PlayStation, for my console. That's it. That's all I came out with. My maths, my English, they were non-existent, because at this time I was bunking off class because I had no inspiration. I had no motivation or positive structure to guide me and actually ambition to do anything.
What was school like for you? Like, do you feel that it was because it wasn't engaging for students? Like, do you feel that like the educational structure is not engaging to make children more inquisitive? Because it's that sit in a classroom, listen to your teachers, creating an Xbox box, whatever it was that you made is hands-on, that's So do you feel that you were that kind of learner that you needed to be doing?
No, because the only reason I did that was because I had a little bit of inspiration to actually put my PlayStation, because we used to have the PlayStation on the floor, the console. So I was just inspired to make a little cabinet to actually put it in the cabinet with the games. So that's all I came out of school with. Okay, so I didn't necessarily cause any trouble in school. I wasn't a troubled child. I used to bunk off. I used to not go to lesson. I used to go messing around on the streets and stuff with other friends, and like this was all happening. But it wasn't, you can't really blame the teachers or the school system or anything like that. It was just my own mindset at that time, which obviously stemmed from my home life, being around my father. So this was impacting my education.
Right. Now, going through, how were you able to move out of your home at 16? Did you have a job?
At 16, no, I had a few like part-time jobs I was doing, but nothing of significance. And I just moved out. I had nothing. So, I didn't necessarily have any money. I had nothing. So I didn't know how I was going to do it, but all I knew was what I wanted to be. And that was enough for me.
Where did you go?
So I ended up living in a house of professional athletes. This is where my mentor put me. He put me in a house of other fighters. So I was around athletes. And then from that, I was meeting other athletes from different sports like football, basketball, hockey, who were coming around, who was friends. And that was their network. And I was around that mentality of winners, champions. Right. So that's one of the reasons why I then went on to live out my vision, because I was around that cohort of people.
Like-minded people.
You understand? Yeah. So from being in that environment where I was battling with my father and my father being negative constantly towards me and what I wanted to do, then I was around people who were actually doing it on that quest. And they were people that I wanted to be like for their attributes of what they were doing with their life. So I was around that culture. And this is why I say, and I've referenced this a lot of time, motivation is not enough. Discipline is not enough, because discipline is still questionable. We can still question, oh, we're disciplined. We have to be disciplined today. Oh, this week I'm going to be really disciplined. It's still not enough. It has to be a culture we have to adopt in our lifestyle to live every single day. For example, me training every day, it's not something I have to be disciplined for. It's part of my anatomy. It's just culture to me. I just go and train every day, whether I'm running, walking, boxing, whatever.
However, I think that desire deep inside of you to want that, because you know that in order to be a good boxer or a good athlete, you need to be well conditioned. So, you know, that passion, that fire within really is what gets you to the thought that, okay, if I don't do this today, then I'm not going to be, you know, good enough to go into the ring and to be a soccer player, whatever it is, whatever sport it is that someone might want. How, do you think that that's correct, or that's the same?
Yeah, and look, it all starts from the subconscious mind.
Mm-hmm.
So in school, in my academia, when I was young, I was trying to do something. That word try
Mm-hmm.
is a different terminology for I'm not sure if I can. It's still, you still question yourself. When I was actually immersed into the boxing world, I was in progress.
Mm-hmm.
So I was already doing. And that's the difference. If we try to do something, we're still questioning whether we can do it. When we are in progress, we are doing. So being around this cohort of people, I was picking things up on what we were doing on a day-to-day basis. So it was all training, it was all boxing, it was all success, it was all talking about world championships. That was the culture. You were expected to win. You were expected to train. You were expected to be in bed by 9 p.m. This was all a culture. So I was around this culture from young. So this is programmed in me. I'm programmed like that right now, still to this day. So my point is, other things started to eventually open up for me because I was living my vision. I was then fulfilled. I had a sense of fulfillment. So
Mm-hmm.
other things were a byproduct of that. So other things started opening up and happening. So my subconscious was hard at work and smart at work. My physical body was doing the hard work. My subconscious was doing the smart work behind the scenes.
I love
And
that.
that was a game changer for me. That was a game changer because I knew I had an opportunity to change my life.
I love that. I love that. You know, your body was doing the hard work and your mind was doing the smart work.
Yes.
I love that. I love that. Now, how important do you think it is for teens, like, to have that mentor? You know, we see nowadays a lot of adults right now, because of what's going on in the world and everything, you know, coaching, and mentoring. I feel it's really important to have that person behind you, you know, putting you in the right direction, sitting on. Yeah, we find that there's a lot of many schools don't provide that for young people, when I think it's so critical to their progress forward in whatever it is that they choose to do. How important do you feel it is for young people today to have a mentor or a coach to push them forward?
It's paramount, Christy. It's paramount. And the reason I say why is you get two choices. It'll come down to two factors: inspiration or desperation.
Mhm.
And the reason I say that, when I was 16 years old, I had both of them. I had inspiration from Brendan Ingle, who was my mentor, and I had desperation of what I wanted to become and how desperate I was to change my life and change my mindset. So I had the two concurrently running together. So
Mhm.
I was desperate because I burnt my boats. As soon as I moved out of my family home, I burnt my boats. That was it. I had to do something. I had to make changes. And when you're left in that situation, you're only going to triumph. And the reason I say that, because if we have no inspiration or desperation to do something, it's just not possible to do.
Mhm.
Nothing else is going to change you.
Mhm.
Nothing else is going to force that change. It's not going to wake people up. So, in my opinion, they're the two major factors that people need, even being young. Okay. Learning how to stand on your own 2 feet, learning how to be responsible for yourself, learning how to cook, clean, and take care of others as well. So, as this was happening, and this is why I relate it to what you just said, because what happened when I was fulfilling my vision, when I said earlier, I mentioned other things started to happen for me. I got the discipline to then go back to college. And the reason I said discipline, academia wasn't my culture, boxing was my culture.
Mhm.
I then adopted the discipline to go back to college, well, to get in college. Then I ended up getting the grades through my discipline to go to university. Now that, again, was inspiring because I knew I was inspiring others. So then I ended up going to university. I got a BA honors, and then I went on to do my master's degree. So all that came from me following my vision. That the academia was just a byproduct of what I was doing. And then that forced me to do that. And I became the first British professional fighter to obtain a master's degree whilst boxing professionally. So I created history through doing my vision, which inspired many others and changed the game for sports people these days, because people were saying, how can you do the two? You can't. No, you don't understand. My subconscious was doing all this. I didn't know how to do it or how I was going to do it, but I did it.
Right. And I think sometimes people look at that one thing, like they look at the big picture and they're like, oh my God, I'm going to have to do this. And then their mind gets in the way by saying, oh my God, that's just so much. I don't have the time for it. I don't have any, but really when you break it down, and obviously your subconscious broke it down for you, it's that one first class, and then it's that next class, and then it's that next, you break it down into the steps that need to be taken. A lot of times people stop before they even start because they get overwhelmed by the big picture and the outcome and all the things they need to do, to get to that point. And so I think that is so amazing, because not only did, maybe at that point in time in your life as a teen, it wasn't what you were ready to do in education, but you found value that not only were you going to be a boxer, because there's only so long you could be a boxer,
Yeah, 100%.
You have to then think, okay, now what am I going to do after that? How am I still going to create success, be a role model, help others? And the education piece in that is really important. So what did you study?
Yeah, so I did economics, business and economics. That's what I studied. And the reason I say, why I wanted to fulfill my vision early is because, like you said, at 50, 60-year-old, it's very unlikely that you can attain what you want to attain being a sportsman, So when I was younger, that's something I wanted to fulfill, because later on in life, you can pretty much go out and do anything. But sport in a sporting world, in some sports, obviously you're sort of capped at what you want to achieve. So, whilst I was young, I set off on that quest and that journey. And after boxing, the world's your oyster, because you can go and do anything.
Right.
But it's questionable if you wanna get involved in sport. I'm not saying you can't at 50 or 60-year-old, but you've got a lot to learn, haven't you? So it's better to start off a little bit earlier. And yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing what it did for me. And like, I always urge the young people just to follow your vision, because visions are killed at a young age by external opinions. Do you know how many people told me not to get into boxing? Do you know how even my family members were telling me? My mother was the only one who was pushing me towards it, because she knew it's what made me happy and what I wanted to do. But my mother would ring me every time I told her about a big win, or I'd call my mother. She'd always said, son, I love you just the way you are. So I could be anything, and my mum would say the same thing. It's not necessarily a bad thing, but anything that I was doing, she'd say that just so that
because
that
she's
it would
supportive of you, and it's not that
exactly.
And it's not that the naysayers aren't supportive of you. The thing is that a lot of times people look at it in a negative light, but really, even the naysayers, even those that can care about you, either A, they don't believe it's something that they could do, so therefore they don't think that you can do it as well. Sometimes people just say that because they want to protect you, because they don't want you to fail. So they have that mindset that you're going to fail, and I want to protect you from being disappointed.
Exactly. And like you just said, it's not that they're not rooting for you. Of course, everyone's rooting for you, but sometimes people find it difficult to see your vision
Mm-hmm.
from what you see, because everyone has a different perspective on life. You know, you might like to meditate. I like to go for a walk. You might like tea. I might like coffee. People have different likes and dislikes and tastes and whatever. So, you know, not everyone is the same on the planet. So you are going to get a mixture of different perspectives. So yeah, absolutely. But that's where it started and how the journey really began and started to take off for me.
So tell me about your training and those emotions and everything that you did to get to your first fight.
So yeah, it was just a case of keeping the ball rolling through my amateur career, and then it was time for me to go professional. As soon as I went professional, I felt, oh yeah, I've finally reached that vision that I had. I finally got here from a vision I had in my head as a young child to getting and creating the opportunity to go professional. So all that time and manifesting that vision to actually doing it and living it out, it was here. And I was like, yeah, this is it. This is me. This is what I've done. This is what I live for. Great things have come. My network, the network of people I meet, you know, the respect that you get, you know, and you're respected amongst the boxing game and everything else for what you do. And it was great. And the academic side, you know, achieving academically, avenging my academia, and then get into the first fight. And then I actually lost my first professional fight. So then what I learned by that is you have to have a championship mindset. A winning mindset is not enough. We all have to adopt a championship mindset in life, because you're going to come up against barriers. There's going to be obstacles, but it's how you deal with them. It's how you overcome them. And people say, oh yeah, just keep, you know, we got to be winners. We're born winners. No one's born to win.
Right.
You have to learn. It's a learned behavior.
Right.
Winning, you have to learn how to win. You have to learn how to adopt a championship mindset as part of your culture, to come back, to avenge. You know, how did I train twice a day and then go to university all day, study, get my essays done, get my dissertation done, and then still do both? You know, you have to adopt a championship mindset, whether that's in a working career, an entrepreneurship, running a business, taking care of your kids, whatever. You have to have that championship mindset.
Yeah. And I couldn't agree with you more. And I imagine that after, you know, you went into your professional career and you didn't win that first fight, you probably went back and you probably looked and watched it to see, you know, to learn from it, to learn from that experience, to see what it was that, you know, what did you need to do differently? Or you went back and you said, okay, I should have done, maybe shouldn't have done this, to learn from those errors in order to make sure that you didn't do them again. Do you do that?
Look, life's a learning process. We got to learn. If we make mistakes, it's good, but you can't make too many mistakes too often, because
Right.
that's when it becomes bad. That's in life in general. And I always relate it to life, because it's not, you know, it's not just about concentrating on one thing. It's about bringing everything together to then fit your vision on where you want to go in the future. You know, so there's a lot of aspiration that you have in what you want to do in later life and what you want to do to help other people. So you have to relate that to what you're doing right now, and your actions and your intentions will portray that.
Now, what is the highest level win that you have from your boxing career?
So I won my international masters title. So I won that at age 22. So from 19 turning pro to then winning a title at 22 years of age, you know, I was on top of the world, because that vision that you had to actually doing it, and I running into friends and running into family, they're like, oh wow, yeah, you did it, you're doing it, you know, you're living out your vision, you're living out your dream. And that's what's important in life. Like, there's a lot of people who tend to do things that they don't enjoy or don't want to do, and that's fine. Like, sometimes you have to do things that you don't want to do in order to get to where you need to be. but it's not too good to stay there telling yourself you enjoy it when you don't, because that can become very frustrating, and it can become very sort of disengaging amongst yourself. So I always urge people to do what they love. Do what you love, do what needs to be done, and you'll make a difference in the world.
Now, you were training for boxing, you were going to university. I imagine you had a job in there somewhere.
At the time, I was just doing my own thing, to be honest with you. No, the first when did I was working. I had odd jobs here and there throughout college, and then when I was boxing, my whole life I was studying, so I was in academia.
Mm-hmm. So how did you support yourself? Because I'm sure that's a question that some people out there might have, like, okay, I want to do all of those things as well. However, where do I fit in, supporting myself in order to live while I'm accomplishing those things?
Yeah, so I had a couple of sponsorships at the time. And then obviously what I was getting paid from fighting, I wasn't doing anything else. I was just literally studying, training, and coming home. So the money I was getting paid from boxing and my sponsorship, that's what I was sort of using to live.
Perfect.
And in investing in certain other things. So, I wasn't really spending anything because I wasn't going out. My whole life, my whole culture was boxing and studying. So, that's how I got through it.
And I think that in and of itself, what you just said there, you weren't going out, you weren't spending money recklessly. And I think a lot of times, young people get money in their pocket and then 2 minutes later, it's gone. And I think that that's really important. You have to kind of sometimes sacrifice what it is that you would like to do to be seeing that vision like you had in your mind. Like, this is just momentary gratification right now to buy this or go here or spend a night out with friends or whatever it might be, but my vision is more important and I need to stay the course. And I think that's a really important lesson. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. But being young, you don't know that unless you start doing the self-development stuff,
right?
It's not other people's job to teach you your financial situation or your financial intellect. You have to go out and learn that yourself, and you learn that through mistakes, you learn that through error. But
now,
like I said,
mentioned self-development. What did you do? I mean, other than your mentor, what did you do as a young person to help you with that self-development?
So in my mid-20s, that's when it really started. For other areas of self-development, when I started picking up self-development books and really, developing the mind, as well as outside of boxing, I started looking into other things and other sort of mentors, and when you pick up a book, it's like having a mentor with you because all the information's there.
Right.
And going out and speaking to people who were a lot more successful, being around highly successful people and individuals and asking them, and just being a student of the game. Today, I'm still a student of the game. I always like to speak to people who are a lot smarter than I am, who are doing bigger things than what I'm doing, because I learn from them. I'm good at observing and absorbing. That's something I'm very good at. So I absorb very easily. So, when I go to certain places and I meet people, I absorb what they do. I study what they do. I don't just watch people, I study people to see what they're doing, and how I can learn from that and how I can get involved.
Right. Now,
so that's where it started.
You're still, obviously you're still boxing, and you're still training. And do you have a fight coming up?
Not as yet, just training at the minute, still training. And like I said, I'm 32 years of age, so I'm giving myself till 38 years old, and then I'm gonna exit the game.
Wow.
And I'm gonna live out and do my other projects in life. So yeah, that's the plan.
Now, a lot of times with boxing, there is that concern with the danger that's involved in the sport. I'm
Absolutely.
imagining that you don't necessarily allow that to get into your head.
I don't think many fighters do because we detach ourselves from the reality of it. And when you start out, my mentor explained that immediately. He said, look, boxing is the only game you can legally be killed.
Right.
It's the game where you can suffer, a lot of damage because you're going in there to fight. You're not playing marbles, you're not playing dominoes, you're
Right.
fighting. So you have to be aware of the dangers, but it's always at the back of your mind, because when you're immersed in the game and you love the game, you got so much love, that sort of goes out of the window, and you're just focused on where you want to go. So that doesn't really come in. And yeah, you hear about certain stories, but I think it's a risk. It's a risk you take. It's a risk you take, and that's why it's important to listen, learn, and be switched on. You can't be an idiot, and you can't have idiots training you or around you when you're in a game like that, because it's too dangerous.
Right.
So if someone comes up to me and says, Lee, I want to be a boxer, I'm like, look, go and live and go and make a living doing something else. If they come up to me and say, Lee, I want to be a world champion, I'll say, carry on, because that's the desire that you have in this game. You can't have nothing less. You can't be half-hearted in it.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah, no, there's not that. Yeah, it's all in. It's all in. You have to have that obsession for it in order to really, it's not just one of those things that, yeah, it sounds really good.
Yeah. That's it. It's too dangerous. It's too dangerous. So you have to put your mind to it. You have to put your emotions into that. You have to give it everything you've got. And I'm not just talking about the fighting aspect. I'm talking about what you have to do. Like you have to go and train. You have to eat right. You have to live right. You have to listen. All these things come into one, and if you're not doing that, then you're putting yourself in danger.
Right. Absolutely. What is your mission now? Like, what do you feel, or your purpose to continue carrying out? Like, I guess I don't know if it's your mission, your purpose. I don't know. Sometimes people think that they're the same. Sometimes people think that they're different. What do you feel is that mission that you want to have in continuing in life?
I want to make sure people work towards their potential, not their current ability.
That's great.
I'll repeat that. I want to make sure people work towards their potential, not their current ability. And the reason I say that is we've built a health and wellness platform. So we want to help inspire as many people as we can to adopt a healthy lifestyle, because that is where great things begin to happen. Our external environment is a direct reflection of our internal, on what's going on internally.
Right.
So if we get the internal right, the external will take care of itself.
I couldn't agree with you more. And a lot of times, and I think a lot of it goes back to what you said before. It's, a lot of times people set goals, whether it be for, their career, or whether it be for their health. But the one thing that people don't do at the same time that they set it is have a plan for their mindset. So people go into trying to change I'm going to get healthy, I'm going to do this, I'm going to lose weight, I'm going to whatever, but they don't have a plan for their mindset. What do you think about that?
Mindset is key. Peace of mind is so delicate. Anything that disrupts your peace of mind, get rid of it. Get it out there immediately. You know, you wanna make sure that you're channeling your energy and your mindset to something that is good for the peace of mind. Because when your peace of mind is how can I say it? When you have that sense of fulfillment, your energy changes, your frequency changes, your vibration changes throughout the world. So you start attracting good, you start attracting great energy towards that. And that's from your internal dialogue. So my advice would be absolutely adopt it as culture in your life. Don't just rely on your motivation or being disciplined. Adopt it as a culture, because then you'll do it on human instinct.
Right.
You'll do it on instinct, you know, and learn to respond and not react. Reactive is a survival mechanism.
Right.
Responding is something that you can control. You can respond appropriately to life, to situations, to scenarios. You know.
Now, before you use the word manifest quite a bit, and for, you know, for anyone out there that doesn't know what it is, you say you manifest a lot of things. What does that mean to you?
Manifest is so I'll tell you what a vision is. A vision is a subconscious expression that we then play out through our actions. And the time that it's taken us to get there is the manifestation process. But we have to have a vision in order to manifest something into existence. So as long as you've got the vision in your head, it'll happen. But you got to think about that vision every day, because that's when the manifesting starts. So that would be my...
What do you do to keep those, what do you do every day to make sure that that vision is first and foremost in your mind?
I think about it as soon as I wake up. I think about it before I go to bed. My subconscious then does the smart work again. I'm using the same process I used when I wanted to be a professional fighter. I'm using that same process because it works. I do my affirmations every day, every morning, every night. When I'm out and about on my own, I consume good, clean content. I'm not consuming negative content. I don't, because that is all being processed. Whether we know it or we don't, your subconscious mind, what we put in is what's going to come out. So your actions are expressing the content that's already been consumed.
Right. And I think that's really important. And that just brought to my mind a conversation that I just had about, you know, now in the news and in social media and all of that stuff, that, you know, mental health is you know, mental health issues is on the rise. And I don't negate that it is. However, a lot of that has to do with what are you consuming? And a lot of it has to do, especially with children, you know, when you're keeping the news on and allowing your kids to process that all the time, and you're not having healthy conversations with them, or you're not explaining or having those positive thoughts, you're a parent and you're bringing up, all of the negativity and the negative energy in your house, that's ultimately going to go to your children. And when you're constantly being bombarded with kids in anxiety, kids in depression, kids, and that's just a repetitive thing, kids are going to automatically, I think, a portion of them, you know, assume that quality, because that's what they're getting anxious because of what they're being presented with. What do you think about that?
So my verdict on this, Christy, is I don't know many of them terminologies. I don't know the meaning, and I don't want to know the meaning of them. Depression, anxiety, imposter syndrome. I don't know what any of them mean. I've never looked up the definition. I don't know what it is, but I don't think I've ever experienced anything like that. Maybe I did in my early teenage years when I lived at home with my father. I knew what negativity was because he was negative. But all the other, names for these states, I don't know, because I've not looked into them, and I don't want to. I think mental health is subjective as well to a lot of different people. whether it exists. Does it exist? Does it really? A lot of conversation around that is been done. And I think, like I said, it's all dependent on what we are consuming and the environment that we choose to put ourselves in, because this is going to have an effect. It's going to have an effect on how we process thoughts, what we do in our actions, and certain scenarios are going to be tough in life. How are we going to deal with them? This is why we have to ingrain championship mindsets into the young people, because when you are challenged, how are you going to overcome that? Are you going to fall to pieces? Which is fine. If you want to fall to pieces, that's how you deal with it. Fair enough. But that's not how I deal with it, for example. Anytime I get a challenge, immediately I attack it and I say, how can I overcome that? How can I get over that? And I know there's a lot of things out there, you know, there's people who come down with diseases and medical issues. Yeah, that's a different ballgame. I understand that. But I'm talking about the day-to-day challenges of generic life. There's things that we can do to overcome that, to stop us falling into that category of being, you know, labeled as depressed or having anxiety or anything like that. I don't think that you need them titles, especially on the young people, because they're still very early in their life. They've still got to grow up and experience life. There's still a whole world out there that they've not seen, you know? So it's highly important that we adopt that mindset to overcome any sort of upcoming challenges that we might face.
Mm-hmm. I couldn't agree
You
more.
know?
Couldn't agree more. So I would like to know, what is your definition of success?
My definition of success is following your vision through. Because when you follow a vision, you become fulfilled. And from that fulfillment, you then project more visions that you want to do in life, and you want to genuinely make a difference because you know that your vision made a difference for yourself. So success can mean anything. Right. You know, I know what I need in life to be successful. Am I successful right now? In certain areas, I'm successful. Am I fulfilled 100%? No. Am I partly fulfilled? Yes, I'm partly fulfilled for the fact I followed my vision, which made me very happy. Because then I'm not saying, what if I should have done this? What if I'd have done that? You know, I'm not playing a sort of fantasy role with it. I actually went out and done it. So I think if you follow your vision, you'll become successful.
Yes. And I think that you have, and I think that people need to say in general, like there's different moments in their life. I mean, even if you are at least working towards, if you woke up today and you've done something to work towards that vision or that goal, then you had a successful day, you know? And I think that right now, looking and what you've accomplished in your life, you would be considered successful, right? And so I think a lot of times people, because the title of my book is called Follows and Likes, Is That All I'm Worth? And so
I love that.
And so I like to make sure that people understand that it's not necessarily what society or social media or anything else perceives you success as having, you know, the other day someone was talking about how, well, you know, your success is based on the amount of money you have in the bank. Well, if that's the case right now, I'm dead. That's not working out for me so well, you know, like that is not success. However, I'm waking up every day. I'm so excited about every day because I'm working towards that goal, and that's success. You know, a lot of people have had setbacks at this point in time. You know, a lot of people have gone out there in teens themselves, you know, are looking at that as instant. They want that instant gratification, that instant, you know, everything's going to happen now. But look at you, you're still on your journey. You're on that. We're all on a journey here. And like you said, that success is something that, you know, you're working towards your vision. And we all have setbacks from time to time, but that doesn't stop you from continuing that.
Exactly. And you see people like Warren Buffett, he still goes to work every day. He still does what he does because he knows he's on that success path. He's financially successful. He's probably successful in other areas of his life, but he's still getting up and following his vision. And I think that's a big part of it. If you can get up every day and you can follow your vision, everything else, the monetary success and everything else falls into place because it's a byproduct of what you're doing.
Right.
So it's actually a measurement of what value you're giving to people and others. So, that'll reflect in everything else. So I think, it's again, this is a subjective matter. I think health, wealth, love, and happiness play a big part. They're the 4 pillars that have to be incorporated into your life, regardless. Health, wealth, love, and happiness. I think if you have all them, then you're fine. And financially, that has something to do with it as well. Because I think if you're too poor, then you're not going to be happy. I've had situations where I've had no money when I was younger. It was a case of, okay, that's because of my mindset. That's because I'm not going out providing value. And I think if people go out and provide value, everything else falls into place. And then you're going to be happy doing it. If you get the monetary and the financial success, and you also get to provide value to others, then you're winning, aren't we? We're winning in life, aren't we?
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. But again, people define success different. Like, I don't know. I don't currently have my own children, for example. I don't have any kids as yet. In life, do I want kids? Yeah, I want kids eventually. Say I never ended up having kids, but I was successful doing everything else. Maybe later on in life, I wouldn't be happy because I've not had children when I want children. Do you know what I mean? So
Right.
there's different ways to
Absolutely
portray success, isn't there?
right. I mean, I think again, it goes back to, like you said, it's that vision. It's what fulfills you inside. I mean, you could be a stay-at-home mom and love every minute of it, and that might be what you wanted to do because you wanted to be there for your children. And if that is fulfilling to you and waking up every morning and you are happy with what you're doing, then you have created success in your life. I think, like you said, it's subjective based on because what everybody wants is very different. Everybody's vision, like you said, is very different.
Yeah, and it's always good to aim as high as possible, because when you're aiming as high as possible, if you hit that target just beneath, then at least you've elevated. So I always tell people not to think small, think big. That was one of my mistakes I did. Being younger, I used to think too small. I was thinking too small. Think big, always.
Yes, I have to agree with that. I definitely agree with that. It's the go big or go home.
Yeah. That's it. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with thinking big. And like you got to go out and network. You got to go out and think big. That's the way the big players do it, and we have to do that, because thinking small, we're only going to run into problems like that. So
I want to go back to that word that you just used. You've used it a couple of times, network. How important is that when you are trying to push forward in your vision?
Look, networking is the modern day currency right now. So if you don't have a network, then you're not going to get very far. Networking, learning, like I said earlier, from people who are doing it and who are more successful than you, they're the people you should be around. They're the people you should be learning from, because they're adding value to others. Then you're going to be in a position to then create and give value and help other people, whether it's your friends, your family, strangers. So that's how it goes. And the network is paramount. You need a great network. Like teams, if you're running a business, you need a great team. You need a good network. You need to be able to cohort a good network of people. You need to be able to communicate with them effectively and efficiently, right?
So what is the immediate, like one of the things that you are currently working on now? Are you doing a book?
We're doing a global health and wellness platform online to reach the globe, help people, corporations. So this is exciting. I'm not actually doing a book right now, but it is one of my visions to do a book. So you actually pried the vision out of me there, and I've not told anyone that. So you're the first person that knows that. So yeah, I'm in the process of writing a book at the moment. I don't know how to write a book. I don't know how to publish a book. I don't know anything about writing a book, but my vision is there. So my subconscious will do the smart work again.
Ghostwriters, you know, I mean, that's what that, I mean, a lot of people I actually did an interview with Greg Reed. Do you know who Greg Reed is? And
what's a ghostwriter? What's that?
Someone who writes your book for you. Like,
oh, right. Is it? Okay.
So
cool.
You give them the thoughts, you give them the idea, and they go out and they just make it sound pretty.
Amazing.
And so Greg Reed was like, he's like, I almost failed out of high school. He goes, I don't even know how I did it. However, you know, and when I interviewed him, he says, you know, I would say, you know, this was, you know, I was out and it was a bunch of baloney and blah, 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 blah. And then he's like, then the ghostwriter goes and says, you know, on this one lovely day, you know, I came across a challenge in my life and it really frustrated me within, but I went and blah, blah, you know, and so they take your words, like it's your thoughts, your ideas, but they just make them sound better. So ghostwriter.
I see. Amazing. Well, thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
I'll keep that in mind for sure.
Yeah. But that's wonderful because I think that you would inspire a lot of people with that. So tell me, I want to go back though to your global, it's a global fitness challenge.
No, so it's a health and wellness platform that we are pushing out globally. Yes. So our aim is to help as many people across the globe with their health and wellness. So like I said earlier, your internal dialogue is paramount to be right. Once your internal dialogue is right, your external will fall into place. But you have to start working on your internal. So we're going to teach people how to do that through our global platform online. Yeah. So that's the next project.
I think that's so important because I really do believe that it's, you know, mind, then body, mind, body, spirit. You know, a lot of times you'll hear body, mind, spirit, or whatever. Like, I think the mind is the key there. And I actually just started a project with some people, and they're like, it's body, mind, spirit, because they're very focused on the body piece. And I'm like, all right, like I'll go with it. However, I really think mine needs to be first there. But you know, who am I? Like it's their project, and they wanted me to just to be a little piece of it, and I'm just like, that's fine. I'm like, but you know, I always say mine first, because you know what? That's why most people don't accomplish their New Year's resolutions. You know, they think from one day to the next, I'm going to start something, but they didn't change that thought process. So I love that. I love what you're doing. So is that what's the Box Camp Fitness?
That's right, the Box Camp Fitness. We are launching another entity to this in a few weeks' time, which is going to be exciting. I can't really say too much about it on here right now, but when I do, you know, I'll let you know for sure. But we're branching out, we're expanding, and we're taking this global. So this is the project we're working on, just to change so many lives and help people. And obviously through the pandemic, it's affected people. It's affected people because people don't know where to turn, who to see. So if, you know, once we get this out there, then, you know, I'm sure it'll change lives.
Mm-hmm. I'm sure it will too. I mean, you're very inspiring. You know, and the great part about it is that you live it every day. And I think sometimes people go out there and say, I'm going to do this, but they haven't lived it. And you have the experience, and you in all areas. And so I think I think it's great. I really, really do.
Yeah, thank you. It's inspiring, you know, and it's something that is part of my other vision in life. So it's for sure, and great things are going to come from it. Yeah, so that's the next thing we're working towards.
Nice. I love it. I love it. Never stop dreaming. That's for sure. You know, never stop dreaming.
No, and listen, it's like when we was arranging this podcast, and you know, I made a commitment. I committed. I didn't know whether, you know, everyone can say, oh, we don't have the time, but just commit first, figure the rest out later. So when we were on the phone the other day, you know, we both committed to this podcast, and we had a vision to do it. We manifested it. It's done. And, you know, that's the way everything is in life. There's a lot of science out there that complicate certain processes. The only difference between a championship mindset and an average mindset is the average mindset, the voice that comes in your head, questioning whether you can do something. Can I do it? Am I good enough? Am I worthy? The difference between a championship voice in your head is, how am I going to do this? I'm going to make sure I do this. I can do it. This is going to make me grow and excel. That's the only difference. There's no science behind it. People are out there trying to, you know, throw science in people's faces, making it overcomplicated. It's not. All you have to do is change that voice in your head and then work on the science after that. But that's the first step that everyone should take, is if you're in somewhere and you don't want to get up on stage and speak, that voice in your head is telling you all kind of different things, like, oh, you're not good enough. What if you stumble over your words? What if you make yourself look like an idiot? The championship mindset will say, hey, I'm going to get up and add so much value to people listening to me, and I'm going to make it about them, not me.
Right.
And that's the difference. That's the difference.
Absolutely. Because I think a lot of times people just focus on, well, what if I don't do this? Or what if I don't, if it doesn't go well? Or what if I don't say the right thing? Well, what if you do? Right? I mean, there's that other side. Well, what if you do? You know, why aren't you telling yourself that? And one of the times that I often tell people who ask me, like, how can you stay so positive? How can, you know, so much has happened? And I just say, you know what? It's one of those things that, you know what, maybe I always look at it, there's a reason for this. Because when you look at life, and sometimes you look at a setback for me, every time I've been set back, it was because I was being set up for something better. And so when you think about that, you can get really excited, because then you're like, okay, I look back, I'm like, but every time I've gone, you know, taken that dip, I've come up higher than I did before. And so when you look at it from that perspective, it's all perspective. And you get excited about it, because you're like, oh my gosh, if I was here, which I thought was really, really good, maybe I'm back down here, but guess where I'm going? Even higher than before. And you're just like, it's mind blowing.
It is. And I suppose you've experienced yourself, your expectations have gone up, which your expectations, once they rise, you know that's what's going to get you to that next level.
For sure.
You know,
for sure.
Absolutely.
So if I want to leave you, I want to leave this with one thought, if you could tell anybody out there today, one thing that could change their life for the better, what advice would you give them today to help them do that?
Be authentic.
Love that.
Authenticity.
That's so
important. 100%. Authenticity.
Yeah.
And progress. The takeaway word, progress. Make progress. Don't worry about perfecting something just yet. Just make progress every day. You're moving forward. No matter what, just move forward every day.
I love it.
You know, yeah. So that would be my takeaway.
That's perfect. Yeah, because so many people are trying to be this person or that person or somebody else. Be yourself. You are the best you, and make it authentic. Don't be something that you want you think other people want to hear, but that word authenticity is really, really important. I love that. So, and
100%.
So thank you so very, very much for being here with me today. I so appreciate it. And I'm looking forward to watching and seeing what you do next, and when everything moves forward and comes out, and ghostwriter.
Absolutely. Thank you for the tip. And you know, I know you're based out in the Dominican right now, in Punta Cana, I've actually been there with myself. I took my mother with me a few years ago, and we had a blast out there. I love Punta Cana, so I hope you have an amazing time out there. And thanks for having me on your podcast. It's been an absolute pleasure, and all the best of luck with it. And I know you'll do great things yourself. And you know what? Let me know when your book's out, and I'll buy a book.
Will do. Well, you're gonna have to, because your story is gonna be in there too.
Yes, I forgot about that. So exciting times. So yeah, for sure. I'm gonna look forward to reading that, Christy. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it. So stay in touch, and it's been fabulous, and it's been a pleasure to be on here. So again, thank you for inviting me.